YouTube is loading now. It was taking a second. Okay, there we go. Yeah, YouTube's up. It was a little bit behind for some reason, but okay, we're good to go. Yeah, I think YouTube was lagging, so I think we're good to go on YouTube now. All right, welcome in everyone again. For anyone just tuning in, this is Anthony with Puget Sound Stormwatch. I'd like to welcome everyone to a live forecast discussion talking about potential thunderstorms coming up midweek, anytime between Wednesday night and Friday morning, it looks like. Hey there, Keith. Welcome in. ETG Vortex. Hello. Welcome back. Okay, we got those issues ironed out. So that is perfect. Exactly what I wanted to see. There we go. That's the window I wanted right there. All right, perfect. Got all the distractions out of the way. The links are copied and pasted over to X and Blue Sky. Now we can begin our live discussion at that. All right, let's see, where do we begin? Let's begin with some weather models, shall we? We got the most recent 18Z European right here. These are looking at 500 millibar heights and wind profiles. So 500 millibars is the equivalent to approximately 18,000 feet above the ground. This gives us a pretty good idea of what's going on in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. So you guys see we have this closed cutoff low right here. Or this closed upper level low is what I meant to say. You could call it a closed low or a cutoff low. It's just because it's cut off from the main jet stream. So this is going to move south, likely going to cut off sometime over the next 24 hours or so. It may already be starting to cut off. Right here, you can see this little elongated blob right here. So the jet stream is way to the north. I'll zoom out and give you guys a little bit of a better idea of what's going on here. So you guys see we have this jet stream right here, and then we have this little trough digging into it, and then it becomes severed from it. And we go through the evolution. We have a full closed low right there, and the question is, how long does it hang around, and exactly where does it set up? So we have pretty good confidence that this event is going to happen now, although I do have to reiterate that there is always bust potential with something like this. We saw something similar happen on March 26th of last year. You guys know that very infamous setup that we had. The only difference is there's much less confidence that this is going to be a severe event. It most likely will be a marginal event at best. But I think at the very least, when tonight's SPC outlook comes out, we may see a day 3 T-storm risk for most of Western Washington. Shell Bell, welcome in. SL Cree on YouTube is asking, what's the chance that you will get lightning in Kingston? I have about medium confidence. So let's go look at lightning flash density probabilities, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit more for this real quick. So this is the farthest I can zoom in. Let's yeah, as you guys saw, that signal there was pretty crazy. So the first really good signal that pops up is between 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. on Wednesday for the Cascades, and even a little bit of a signal here for the Olympics as well. The greatest signal appears east of the Cascades and along the Cascade crest. We go between 5 and 11 p.m. on Wednesday. You see the signal is still there, but a little bit more scarce. And then it really starts going crazy over Northwest Oregon and Southwest Washington as we go into the 5 a.m. hour on Thursday. So right now, the greatest signal for lightning is going to be over the Coast Range of Oregon and along the Grace Harbor and Long Beach peninsulas here. As we go from 11 p.m. Wednesday to 5 a.m. Thursday. Also a pretty good signal over the Black Hills and Capitol Peak as well, and the east side of the Olympics, and even some lightning potential for the South Sound as well. And you see that signal continues through 11 a.m. on Thursday. And then it just initially looks like it kind of skips the Puget Sound area. Take this with a grain of salt for right now because we're still working out the details at the moment. There's a lot of questions left to be answered, and the specifics I can't go into right now because we don't have the specifics. You know, we really need all of the high resolution models to be completely in range, and right now they're not. They're close, but they're not quite there yet. But really good lightning signals again for the Southwest Washington area. So Clark County, Cowlitz County, Lewis, Willapa Hills area, Long Beach Peninsula, Grace Harbor, and Northwest Oregon along the Coast Range. Areas including Astoria, Warrenton, Cannon Beach, Seaside have the best chances to see lightning late Wednesday evening and early Thursday afternoon. And then it shifts up to the lower mainland of BC and Vancouver Island as we go through Thursday night. Actually, the Euro's even kind of picking up a slight thunderstorm chance Saturday afternoon over the mountains. So, several chances to see some lightning coming up, but it looks like the best chances right now are north and south of the Puget Sound, but not directly in the Puget Sound. That's the initial signal that we're getting right now. We go and look at expected precipitation type and rate. Do notice we have this widespread precipitation. A lot of this could be embedded convection as well. Really popping off Thursday morning around the area. And there's even an indication that this will move north into the Puget Sound area. So this has Olympia getting possible thunderstorms. If this convection turns out to be a thunderstorm and not a strong shower, this is a pretty good signal, though, here on the European. Right over Olympia between 5 and 8 a.m. on Thursday. So the Puget Sound would likely get this sometime between 8 and 11 a.m. on Thursday, according to this model run. And let me refresh Facebook to see if we're getting comments automatically, which it looks like we are. Love a big thunder lightning storm here in Tacoma. I agree, but only if it comes with precipitation. Let's go look at total precipitation. And the good news is it does look like we'll get beneficial precipitation at the very least over the higher terrains when this band of showers comes through Thursday morning. With it looks like right now the heaviest precipitation could be over the North Cascades, Mount Baker area, and the Northern Olympic Peninsula. Which this is a good signal. This is what you want to see right here. This will help mitigate any higher elevation fire danger. Lower elevations, though, we'll have to watch this closely. Any rain for Tri-Cities over the next 6 days, there's not a very good rain signal for you guys. Maybe a couple hundredths of an inch at most. You could get some more as you go out towards eastern Franklin County and northwestern Walla Walla County. But the signal right now for the Tri-Cities for rain is not looking too good. Just a heads up. Hang on, guys. Water break. ETG Vortex says, just vacationed in Kentucky and saw a bunch of great storms. Yeah, Kentucky storms, I mean, our storms don't hold a candle to theirs, so it's a huge privilege to be able to make it out that way and see crazy severe storms. As long as they don't cause any damage to property or loss of life or injuries, then I'd say it's worth it. Cindy says, bring on a good thunderstorm. And Zach is asking about Coopville. You actually have a pretty good chance of seeing some lightning up in the Coopville area later Thursday night, according to this model run. Now let's actually compare these model runs. So I'm going to go over the trend and see how the trend has evolved. So once again, this is for 11 p.m. on Thursday. Let's check this trend as we go farther in time. You see the best chances for lightning a few model runs ago was over eastern Washington, over, believe this is the Banks Lake area. So then the signal kind of dissipates in the next model run, and then it's almost completely gone. And then the signal pops up again. This was the 0Z model run yesterday. See, and then the signal's gone again. So the model to model, well, the run-to-run agreement is not quite there until we start getting to about the 12Z range yesterday, then 18Z, 0Z today, and then the signal starts to spread to the west. And then we've had a pretty good signal west of the Cascades over the northwest interior the last 3 model runs here. So confidence is increasing as of today's model runs for the Bellingham area in the lower mainland of BC, as well as Island County, San Juan County, and the Northern Olympic Peninsula, as well as southern Vancouver Island, the Victoria, BC area in particular. Keith says you've been doing fire weather briefings for Eastern Washington, Northern Idaho. Awesome. Yeah, if you guys want to see fire weather briefings, head out to Keith's page, K-Dog Weather on Facebook. K-DAWG Weather. Keith knows exactly what he's doing, so that's a great resource of information there. Saw a few shelf clouds and a bunch of lightning. Want to see more lightning here. Keith says he might be chasing up here. This is a pretty good signal for a chase, but it's likely going to be later on Thursday night. I also had someone ask about wind, too. Not sure if they're watching the live stream. It could get a little gusty, but we're not expecting any damaging winds with these thunderstorms because they're going to remain mostly elevated, which means they have less of a chance of any surface-based impacts, but we'll have to watch for things like downbursts, for example. Hey, Dawn, welcome. Thank you for becoming a member on YouTube. Really appreciate that. Still haven't quite fully utilized the YouTube membership program yet, but I'm hoping to begin firing up the briefings again sometime soon. I know I've been saying this for a while, and I've been terrible just procrastinating on it, but eventually, in the short term, I do want to fire those up again. And I would like to do members-only videos and maybe even some members-only live streams as well. Like, kind of like Reed Timmer does. And if you guys know who Reed Timmer the Storm Chaser is, he has a Dominator After Hours program. When they finish their public live stream, they transition to a members-only live stream, like an After Dark kind of thing. So we may utilize that in the future as well. Misty Bikini, welcome back. Yeah, sure thing. Glad to be here to pass on the memo. CJB5027 is asking, so the I-5 corridor might get missed. I wouldn't say that for sure. So let's go look at the RRFS. This one is in full range right now. Let's go see what the high resolution convection allowing model shows. You see this actually does show some storm activity possibly passing through the Puget Sound area Thursday morning at around 11 a.m. And then a better signal for storms here over Island County, Snohomish County, Clallam and Jefferson counties as we go through 2 p.m. on Thursday. And you guys see, not sure if that's going to verify, but that would be a borderline supercell up here in the King County foothills. That's probably over-convecting it a little bit, so take that with an extreme grain of salt. Julie, thank you so much for the coffee donation. Yeah, Julie Rogers, thank you for the generous gift. I appreciate that so much. So this shows a pretty good signal for some Eastern Washington thunderstorms initially starting Wednesday afternoon at around 3 o'clock. To watch these carefully, these could be fire starters as well because these probably won't amount to very much precipitation. As you guys can see, just like not that much except for maybe this one cell up here. These guys don't produce very much. So if we get any lightning producing cells east of the crest or even over the Cascade crest, it's not looking good for precipitation. So they could easily start fires on the east side. West Sea is asking, what are the chances for Rochester? Let's go check out the RRFS lightning flash density. And it looks like initially, at first glance, you certainly have a chance in that immediate area early Thursday morning. Probably around the time that the sun is rising, I'd say. A little bit later than sunrise. This has a pretty good signal for the southwest interior and the South Sound here. Between 8 and 11 a.m. on Thursday. So the chances are there, but don't get your hopes up quite yet. We're still a couple of days out, and we're still getting details on what could potentially happen. So the signal is certainly there, but will it verify? We don't quite know that quite yet. Just wanted to make that disclaimer real quick. Robin Verge on Facebook says, yes, please bring on the thunderstorm. Of course, only if we get good values of precipitable water. So if you line up the water vapor in the atmosphere over one certain point, you stack it over one coordinate, and you precipitate it on that, that is basically the amount of rainfall potential given the amount of vapor in the atmosphere. And you usually want those over an inch or so. Let me see if we can pull it up on this model in particular. Yeah, I have to zoom out for it though. But we do have pretty darn good precipitable water values west of the Cascades, with some areas even getting up over 1.5 inches of precipitable water, which would be great to prevent fire starts over northwest Washington, the San Juan Islands, and Island County. And a lot of this area too, anywhere in the blue, shows 1 inch or greater precipitable water values. That's what you want to see this time of the year. You know, you don't want these really dry thunderstorms over the area. Let me pull a sounding to see if it agrees with my judgment. So yeah, so unfortunately it does look a bit elevated. Luckily, precipitable water, that PW right there, is 1.12 inches. But just how much of it will make it to the ground is the big question. See, if we look at our most unstable Cape parcel right here, we do have 655 joules per kilogram of elevated instability. I was making sure my AC didn't quit right there. Okay. But we do have 152 joules per kilogram of inhibition, or negative Cape. So this is a low-level capping inversion. You guys see this little loop right here where the temperature increases, moves to the right, and then moves back to the left here. So this is the forecasted ambient temperature in the atmosphere. The white dashed line is basically the theoretical parcel temperature. You want this white dashed line to be to the right of the solid red line to have instability. So this area you see right here where my cursor is, that is instability. Anything below that right here, this is inhibition. You guys can see the LCL line right here. This is the lifted condensation level. This is where the cloud base should condense. You normally would want this down below 1 kilometer to have what's considered low-based storms or low-based showers. So the 1 kilometer line is way down here. You'd want it like halfway down to where the mark is right now. So this is showing a good sign of high base and elevated convection, because the difference between the LCL line and the LFC line is quite considerable on this scale, because this is logarithmic. This is not linear. So the distance increases as you go up the skew T log P chart right here. You notice these are not linear. Again, they're logarithmic. So they increase in a base 10 rather than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if you know what I'm saying. So the LFC, this is the level of free convection. This is, once you lift the parcel up to this point, it will rise freely. It doesn't require a forcing mechanism, like daytime heating, for example, or a big shortwave trough to come through the area. But this is a good 4+ kilometers off the ground, which is, yeah, see, it's 4,040 meters off the ground, which is pretty high. Over 4 kilometers, and then the equilibrium level. This is how high the cloud tops can rise before they flatline. And around here, you normally see this between 6 to 9 kilometers, but it's up towards almost 11 kilometers here, which is really decent for west of the Cascades. So we could get these high base, but also kind of mid to high top thunderstorms in this area if this verifies. If. I have to say that strongly, because there's a chance that this may not happen altogether. This is just a big theoretical what if the conditions line up properly. All right, let me go back and answer a few questions real quick. Gonna take another sip of water. Thank you guys so much for your patience. I do appreciate it. Cat Smith on Facebook is asking, when is this supposed to hit Seattle? This would likely be mid to late morning Thursday, if what the models are showing is correct. Look at that cloud cover, yeah. It definitely shows this convection moving through the south and central sound at around 11 a.m. or so on Thursday. So yeah, there's a cutoff low off the coast here. That's going to spin clouds into the area. And then it looks like that convection really starts to fire off over the Cascades and east of the Cascades at around 1 p.m. on Wednesday. And then that will affect areas east of the Cascades and potentially the Cascade Crest. Even looking like we could have some pre-convection firing up here over parts of the Puget Sound area. Anytime between 7 and 8 p.m. on Wednesday. Then the real show really begins overnight into early Thursday morning. Potentially lasting into the afternoon hours on Thursday and maybe the morning hours on Friday. But that would likely be farther north. So we're talking again the northwest interior, like the Bellingham area, San Juan Islands, Island County, and the BC Lower Mainland, as well as parts of Vancouver Island as well. So that's something we're really going to have to watch closely, because see all of these shaded contours right here? These are potential lightning flashes. And the darker the colors are, like this, for example, this purple spot here has a really good indication that we could see prolific, is what I'm thinking. Prolific lightning producers, where you see the darker color contours here. So I'm going to say late morning, early afternoon, Thursday for the Seattle corridor. All right, let's go look at YouTube. They might put a fire weather watch for that area for dry lightning. It would be advisable. I agree on that. You think there will be precipitation for Rochester? Well, that is a great question. Let me see if we have any new model runs running, which we do have our 0Z HER, but this doesn't go out in range yet. So let me first go to the RFS and zoom in a bit. Check out our total precipitation as we go through the end of the run. So this is 11 p.m. Thursday. It shows maybe 0.02, 0.03 inches of precip, so it's not going to be enough to make a difference, sadly enough. Maybe wet the grass a little bit if this precipitation makes it to the ground, but unfortunately there's a good chance it's probably going to be a pretty dry thunderstorm event for that general area. The best indications for precipitation are going to be along the coast, off the coast, through the central Puget Sound and the northern Olympic Peninsula region, with some isolated higher precipitation for any stronger storms that do develop over the foothills or the Cascade Crest. Let's compare that to the NAM 3KM model, which goes out to 60 hours. This goes out to Wednesday, 11 p.m. So this is like right as the event is starting west of the Cascades. And it does show some of these showers possibly riding parallel to the coast. Some spotty showers over the Olympics. And pretty decent rainfall rates. This could fall as snow as well due to the cooler nature of this trough. Cooler temperatures aloft. This could fall as snow at the highest peaks. So Mount Rainier potentially would be the spot to watch. Let's look at snow depth. Just, again, take this with a grain of salt. This is theoretical. Let's go look at the Kuchera ratio real quick. I take that back, actually. No, it would most likely be rainfall over Mount Rainier and the highest peaks, if that were to verify. So see, it shows a pretty good signal for these cells to start popping up Wednesday afternoon east of the Cascades. So areas where fires have already begun burning or have previously burned, they have to watch out for additional fire starts in those areas. So north central and eastern Washington is going to be one of the areas to highlight for potential increased fire danger going through Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday night. Julie says, if it does, we are here for it. Julie also is asking, how's my yard sale going to fare overnight, Wednesday and Thursday? Yeah, that's going to be a hard one to answer. There's a chance this may not happen at all, but I would be ready just in case to put a tarp over everything. And, hold it down with rocks. Because although this may not produce very much wind, you still have to be ready just in case the models bust in that aspect. Which, again, I'm not seeing any major wind gusts from these thunderstorms, at least right now. I'll have to wait till the NAM and the HER start getting fully in range, and then we can compare those two with the RRFS model, which we were looking at previously, and see if we can narrow down any areas that we'll have to watch for enhanced strong winds if it comes to that. Which right now I'm not seeing any good indications that it'll get super windy around this area. It'll most likely be a lightning threat and maybe some small hail as well due to the elevated nature of these storms if they do happen. All right, let's go check on current fires now that we got to that point. This one's going off. The Carter Cemetery Fire, however I pronounce it. This is near this huge burn scar that we had here from, can't remember the name of it. It was Carter something fire. But it was burning on the south side of Omak Lake here. So we have another burn scar currently burning through the Omak Lake Road area here in Okanagan County. So as of an hour ago, it is 261.3 acres with unknown containment. So it went from a day ago at about 5:05 p.m., 5-acre vegetation fire, to just within the last hour. So in about 24 hours, it grew from 5 acres to 261.3 acres, which compared to some of the previous fires we've had recently is not very much, but it's burning off to the north and west by the looks of it. So anyone near Omak Lake, like the Carter or Cartar Rock playground, campground, for example, may want to keep their eyes peeled on this fire burning to your east. The B&O fire, this one was pretty scary for the citizens of Okanagan and Omak. Currently only a level 1 evacuation at the moment for the general vicinity. So no immediate evacuations, but the fire is still burning at the moment. The forward progress has been stopped. And it's at a total of 2,815.4 acres and 63% containment. So firefighters doing a great job getting that B&O fire contained. Nine Canyon fire had a flare-up recently, but that has since dissipated. The flare-up is under control as of 2 days ago. Burned 600 acres, but is 90% contained. This fire was burning along Washington Highway 397 and 9 Canyon Road. So that fire should be under control at this time. We had a fire burn up in Spokane as well here. It looks like they have this one under control. It's estimated at about 5 acres, and it looks like they do have a pretty good handle on the situation, mopping up hot spots and strengthening their containment lines. The fires, pictures from citizens, for example, this anonymous user got a really good picture of this fire up close with some flames embedded in the trees. That was about 3 hours ago at 3:36 that photo was submitted. So that is on the north side of Spokane. That fire should be under control now. Looks like we have a small fire that was reported right smack dab in Winthrop. Gonna have to wait for updates on this. Fire was reported at 4:40 p.m. right here on the north side of the river in Winthrop city limits. So that is estimated to be 0.1 acres. I will stand by for updates on that. Keith says there is a small fire in the San Juans. Really? Yeah, you're right. We'll get to that here in just a moment. 3 hours ago, it looks like there was a fire here in Teton, whatever the pronunciation is on that, near Hatton Road and Highland Road, but the fire is out. So there was a 1/4 acre brush fire in heavy fuels. Firefighters got it out before it was able to spread. Awesome news there. All right, west of the Cascades, we also had a fire, looks like, that popped up in Palmer area. This is up Pipeline Road or Green River Headworks Road a little bit, right along the these are the railroad tracks. So this could have been started by train going over Stampede Pass maybe, but it looks like it is 100% contained, and the fire should be out by now. So a little 0.1 acre fire near Canasket Palmer State Park that no longer poses a threat. Also seeing a couple of isolated power outages pop up too. That's a little unusual. But we had a fire. I posted about this today on Facebook, Patreon, X, and Blue Sky. We did have a 1 acre fire here on Fox Island near 11th Avenue and Camas Drive. The fire has been knocked down on all fronts. They're checking hotspots and mopping up while creating hand lines. So this fire should no longer pose a threat to life or property. All right, biggest fire burning west of the Cascades at the moment. The Mount Tom Creek fire has no recent updates. So still 69 acres as known of. There's the fire scar right there. Just on the northwest flank of Mount Olympus, the tallest peak in the Olympics, and 27% known containment at this time. Then we have the Luna fire up here. This one was upgraded silently 4 days ago, so it wasn't a major fire by any means, but due to the length of the burn, they reactivated it on the Watch Duty map. So the amount of time that has elapsed and the remote location of the fire prompted this. Pretty close to the Luna campground, but I'm not seeing any indications that this will spread any farther north at this time. Then we have a couple of these small flare-ups here. We do have this fire that was reported here along the Naval Magazine Indian Island near Marrowstone Island, just northeast of Port Hadlock here in Jefferson County. 50 by 100 foot, running in light to medium fuel, and they requested an additional response, but no updates have been given since then. And then we have this new fire that Keith was talking about 2 hours ago up here on Lopez Island, it looks like. Yeah. West end of Lopez Island near the Channel Preserve area off of Eagles Roost Lane and Meadow Lane here. Reported at 1:17 p.m., so it's really late onset. I have a feeling this fire is probably out by now. At least I would hope. All right, going through a few more questions. Let's see here. Kim says, hello, will you be live Wednesday if it's looking good for a storm for us? Potentially, yes. If things are looking good, we'll likely do a live on Wednesday. Probably, if I do a live tomorrow, it wouldn't be till later on in the afternoon because I do have to take my grandmother to an eye appointment, so I'll be out for a little bit in the afternoon. So probably no live stream tomorrow, but anticipate a live stream on Wednesday if the trends keep trending upwards. Keith says it's contained. All right, good. Cheryl, sorry if you left without me answering your question. What about Port Townsend? Definitely a good signal for lightning in your area if this setup were to verify around later Thursday afternoon, maybe early Friday morning, like overnight. Gonna take another water break because my mouth is drying out. Let's take one more look again at current visible satellite imagery. We do still have some areas of light haze in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere moving over the area right now. So if you're looking off to the west when the sun sets, you might get another colorful sunset tonight. I'm still kind of seeing that yellow tint to the sun, so I'm imagining we'll probably get some pretty colors again. I wish it was for a good reason. Again, if I pull up windy right now, I have this set up right now. Let me make sure this is current. Yeah, so this is 6 p.m., so it's showing the jet stream over the area. We have a ridge of high pressure over the ocean, and we have our trough beginning to form here. So this little divot in the flow right here, this is the upper level trough beginning to cut off from the jet stream. Then it's going to meander off the coast over the next 48 hours or so. Try to get itself situated here off the coast. Let's go through the forecast here. So this is Wednesday morning. See, we had that cutoff area of low pressure off the coast, and then the very strong flow over western Washington aloft at around 18,000 feet. As we go through Wednesday afternoon, it really starts to get situated. This is according to the recent European model run. Got to get some water real quick because my mouth is really getting dry, so hang tight, folks. Getting hot in here quickly, even with the AC going. All right, where was I? Yeah, let's go through Wednesday evening. You see this low becomes more negatively tilted, which basically means it has a northwest to southeast trough axis. So it's tilted a little bit more to the west. If you guys look at my webcam, it's mirrored, but I'm going to show you the direction anyways. So what you guys are seeing right now, this is the tilt of the trough. This is called a negative tilt and usually gives it a bit more kick and more surface response, which means stronger showers and thunderstorms possible under the right setup. Positioning of this trough would also help to advect or transport this monsoonal moisture here in the desert southwest. So this would likely catch on to what's called the jet streak right here, and then be transported into our area west of the Cascades overnight Wednesday into Thursday. And then this low will begin to move further inland, and it's looking like Thursday morning is probably going to be prime time for thunderstorm activity west of the Cascades. But it's going to be a bit earlier east of the Cascades, earlier in the day on Wednesday most likely. And then that low will begin to catch the jet stream again and move out of the area as we go on through the day on Friday. And then the threat for any thunderstorms should be mitigated, at least in the short term, as of right now. So, fire smoke burning, or the fire smoke from the fires burning up here in Alaska, the Yukon Territory, and Canada's Northwest Territories is catching the upper level low right now. So it's coming out of the northeast, catching the jet on the south side of the low, and then being transported into our area via the jet stream. So you notice how if we go back to satellite imagery, let me see if you can see it here on Windy. Might be able to see it a little bit. It's very hard to see, but there is some smoke in there. But just in the last hour, you see some of this haze moving from southwest to northeast across the area. You cannot see it well on that, so we'll go back to the College of DuPage. You see it much more clearly on here. You see that south to north direction of that haze moving over the area. That's because the jet stream is currently parked over us right now, and that is transporting this upper level wildfire smoke out of Canada, across the Pacific, and then up into our area again. I'm going to zoom out here, and I'm going to show you guys something pretty cool. You make sure you can see the whole thing. I'm going to pull up the global sector. Yeah, so I'm going to do water vapor, mid-level water vapor in particular, and then put this into motion. So you guys can see there's what looks like a mid-latitude cyclone right off our coast. The good news is this is expected to pull south of the area and not bring us any impacts. But you guys can see the jet stream stretching across the northern Pacific. You have this ridge right here, this area of clockwise motion. So this is called an anticyclone, which means it's rotating clockwise in the northern hemisphere. And then you have the cyclones, which are rotating counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere. So it's inverse on the southern hemisphere due to a property called the Coriolis effect, which is the effect of Earth's rotation on the jet stream and these cyclones and anticyclones around the globe. So this is where our jet stream is moving in right now over the area. And you can see it's pulling this smoke out of BC over the Pacific Ocean and then back into Western Washington and the surrounding areas of the Pacific Northwest. So we'll see how this cyclone plays out, but this cyclone shouldn't give us any direct impacts. If anything, it'll probably hook north into northern Vancouver Island and maybe give them some cloud cover, perhaps a little rain, but I'm not expecting any more than that at most. This is upper level water vapor. You can see the jet stream a bit clearer on here. You can see all of these undulations in the upper level jet. So where it digs south right here, these are troughs. And where it shoves north, where it ridges north, these are ridges, areas of high pressure. So usually more warm and dry, stable weather patterns with these ridges, and then more unstable, cooler and wetter weather patterns with these troughs. Which this is the trough developing right here, this upper level low that, like I said, is going to cut off from the jet stream, sag south, meander off the coast, give us potential thunderstorm and or shower chances, and then catch the jet stream and move back northeast out of the area. The question is then again, what happens after that? Let's go pull up some ensembles real quick. Zoom out and show you guys what could happen in the long run. Give you guys a little preview. We're going to go look at, again, 500 millibar heights. So heights at 18,000 feet. The orange and red colors are higher heights. This means ridging, warmer and drier conditions. And then the blues, these are the troughs, usually indicative of cooler and wetter conditions. So you have what's likely to be the heat dome that I was mentioning. If you guys are subscribers on Facebook or Patreon, I was talking about this a couple days ago before the thunderstorm potential. So talking about this potential heat dome trying to set up. So you have heights of around 6,000 meters or 6 kilometers directly over the northern Mississippi River Valley. This is unusually high this time of the year, as denoted by the darker colored anomaly here. So these are showing anomalies, and this is anomalously high. So about 190 meters higher than normal this time of the year, which is a good sign that we'll have strong ridging and a potential heat dome forming. But you see the ensembles are in really good agreement right now that we'll have this cutoff low directly over us, and this will postpone any heat wave concerns in the short term. What happens after that? We could have this heat dome begin to shift west a little bit. It may not even be a heat dome by this time. It may just be kind of a standard ridge. Either way, the signals are pretty good over the next 6 days that will transition to an upper level ridging pattern over us this weekend, which would increase the temperatures and also decrease the humidity while dramatically increasing our wildfire danger west of the Cascades. So either way, it's either going to be potentially dry thunderstorms or really warm and dry temperatures. So it's a rather pick your poison kind of scenario. Would you rather take the chance of getting some precipitation, but also have the chance for dry lightning? Or would you rather just tough it out with a big heat wave potentially and only increase your fire danger if, say for example, someone accidentally throws a cigarette butt out the window, well, purposely throws it out the window, or someone's dragging their chains on the side of the road? That fire danger is going to be dramatically amplified if you have this ridge set up like the ensemble models are showing. Let's compare this to the AI ensemble models from the European Center of Medium Range Weather Forecast, aka the ECMWF, or simply put, the Euro. Really good agreement right there with the traditional physics-based European model that will have this upper level low over the area. Actually kind of looks like we'll have somewhat of an omega block pattern where you have these two troughs on either side of a ridge, and it kind of forms the Greek letter omega. So if you guys know what that looks like, I can compare that to what we're seeing here on the ensemble forecast. Let's see, pretty good agreement that we may have that Gulf of Alaska ridge returning to the area, which would help block out weather systems, would also increase our temperatures at the same time. Let's go look at temperatures at 5,000 feet, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit on the region. You see, as we go out past the weekend into next week, the anomalies increase pretty dramatically. So the temperatures at 5,000 feet could be as high as 7 degrees Celsius or 12.6 degrees Fahrenheit, higher than average for this time period over the North Cascades, and around 10 to 11 degrees higher than average. Again, this is at 5,000 feet. This is not the surface, but still gives you a pretty good idea of what could happen at the surface. Anomalously, the surface temperatures will likely be, I'd say anywhere between 6 to 8 degrees higher than average based on what I'm seeing right now. But let's pull up the surface anomalies, which I can see percentiles here. So we can at least get a general idea. Let me see if it works when I zoom in too. Yeah, it does. So we have some pretty dramatic spreads on this, and let me show you. It really starts around Monday of next week. So we have the 10th percentile, which is most likely to happen, and the 90th percentile, which is least likely to happen. So down here in Longview, for example, there is a 90% chance that we could see temperatures around 70 degrees, but there is a 10% chance that we could see temperatures as high as 94 degrees. And the median, the 50th percentile, which is which is basically either or, a coin flip, is around 82 degrees for Longview. So again, this is not the mean. This is not the average of all the ensembles. This is showing the median of the percentiles. So the middle of the set of data that was given. So 82 would be the median here. Median for Hoquiam would be around 74, 75 degrees. And then for Tacoma and Seattle, you still have pretty decent spreads here. So the median temperature for Everett Monday afternoon would be 71 degrees, for example. With it most likely being 65 degrees or less likely 77 degrees. Like, think of a candlestick plot. The highest end of the candlestick plot would be this number, and the lowest end would be this. These are still pretty anomalous to the median on either side. So that's just kind of how to read this percentile chart. And let's take a hypothetical look in the future here and just see these diabolically high temperatures east of the Cascades. There's pretty good confidence looking in the long term, even if it's 10 days out, that we could see ridiculously high temperatures east of the Cascades, but pretty reasonable, seasonable average temperatures west of the Cascades in the long term, which is a good sign. You don't want any heat dome or any significant heat waves really anywhere in the state, but especially west of the Cascades to help amplify that fire danger. All right, another water break. While I take that water break, I do want to bring this up. If you guys would like to help support Puget Sound Stormwatch and make these live streams possible more often, please consider sending a donation to my coffee account. And I forgot I didn't post this on the Facebook comments, so we're going to post and pin that on Facebook comments. If you guys would like to help support the stream, you can either send stars on Facebook, super chats on YouTube, or a coffee donation, which is one time, or you can also sign up for monthly as well. So yeah, thank you, Julie Olson or Julie Rogers, for your donation of a coffee today. Wouldn't be able to do this without you. Thank you so much. Time for a water break. Also, quick update on the follower count on Facebook. We're at 44,919 followers. Means we're only 81 followers away from hitting the big 45K. If you're on Facebook right now watching the stream, which it looks like there's 12 of you at the moment, if you guys could share the stream and share the page to your friends and family, that would be highly appreciated. Thank you very much. I do appreciate your generosity once more. Wouldn't be able to do this without you guys. Looks like we have 2 shares on there, so thank you guys for sharing the stream. Let me go back to the basic dashboard because I can't see any of my alerts on here, which these might be out of date. So I think we're just going to ignore that for now. Okay, for anyone watching right now, do we have any questions, comments, or concerns at the moment that you'd like addressed? Looks like our 0Z cam models are beginning to render, which is good. We started the NAM3 cam, which goes out to 60 hours. Our 0Z HER is fully rendered. So we can at least probably see the profile of this upper level low and see what it's going to do over the next 2 days, the next 48 hours. So let me go look at 500 millibar heights again and see what the HER wants to do with this cutoff low. And it's different than what the other models are showing right now. So it's showing this a bit farther south and west, which some of our deterministics were showing this as well. So they were showing this cutoff low being farther south and west. And this would mitigate any thunderstorm chances, but would likely help bring the higher temperatures west of the Cascades too. Because it's either we get this cool down, potential dry lightning risk, or we get a warm up and we dry out dramatically and increase our fire weather threat regardless of what happens with this upper level low. Yeah, like Julie said, take care of my voice for the Storm live stream. Depending on what time this goes down on Thursday, again, if it does, I may not be able to live stream early in the afternoon because I do have a 12 o'clock appointment that I have to go to that lasts for about an hour. But it'll probably be about a 2, maybe 3 hour window around that I may not be able to stream. If I do a stream, it would be probably a later stream Wednesday night or an afternoon stream on Thursday. If it starts to lean towards more of a later Thursday, early Friday event, if you know what I mean. Because the time is still shifting around quite a bit. So the timing of this is not really on our side at the moment. Just a little bit of a disclaimer on that. Looks like our 12 km NAM is rendering too. That'll be useful. And our 0Z deterministics should start rendering later on. They're still a couple hours away. I think the GFS starts around 9 o'clock, and then the European starts a little after 10 o'clock. So we're probably not going to be live streaming for when the 0Z deterministics drop, but I may post them later on tonight or early in the morning tomorrow before I take care of my obligations tomorrow. Keith says, I have 155 followers on the Facebook page, mostly thanks to you for helping me out. Yeah, sure thing. Glad to help out. And if you guys want to go see Keith's Facebook page, let me see if I can pull up real quick if you guys want to head over that way. I'm going to pull this up on a different tab real fast and then drag it over. Bear with me just a moment. Thought it would pull up right away, but it did not. Here we go. Here's a great source of local weather information. This is K-Dog Weather, K-DAWG Weather, run by Keith Capillero. He's also a moderator here on YouTube. If you guys see him, he has the blue highlight and the blue badge next to his name. If you guys want to give his Facebook page a look-see and potentially a follow, I would highly appreciate that for my friend out of the Bellingham area, Keith Capillero. Julie says she's a follower. Adam J is in the Boise area working this week. Quite toasty there. Yeah, the inland northwest is just baking. Expected to bake even more going into next week as well, when that high pressure is eventually expected to establish over the Pacific Northwest. That will really warm us up and dry us out. Yeah, so let's go over a few of these deterministic runs real quick. In case you guys missed it on my Facebook and Patreon, if there's any model that's been extremely consistent with this forecast, it would be the European AI forecast system. It has showed this feature for many, many model runs ago. See, we're all the way back to the 0Z. This was, what is it? Today's Monday. This was 3 days ago. So for the last 3 days, it's been showing a pretty clear signal that will be under ample defluence aloft. We'll have monsoonal moisture advection, and we'll have plenty of elevated instability to work with. You have 3 ingredients that you need for storms, at the very least. Instability, lift, moisture. It's a bonus if you get something called shear, which will help you get stronger, more mature thunderstorms. And let's see if we have that. Yeah, we do. We do have that parameter here on the AI. We do actually have pretty favorable bulk shear up here of at least 40 knots or around 46 miles per hour. This could be enough to maybe get some stronger cells going if these showers can utilize the environment as much as possible. Once again, for anyone just tuning in, this is not a slam dunk. This still has high bust potential. It may not happen altogether. You know, I really hyped up the March 26th, 2025 setup, which I really shouldn't have, but I learned my lesson, and we're not going to do that ever again. But that was, again, looking like a prolific, like once in a decade probably, storm setup that just did not come to fruition. So I'm being a bit more skeptical and conservative on this forecast, posting a lot of warnings and disclaimers because, again, this may not happen. This may not come to fruition. So I have to put that disclaimer out there. One other thing that looks pretty good are what's called mid-level lapse rates. So in the mid-levels of the troposphere, which is the lowest layer of the atmosphere, between about 850 millibars and 500 millibars, or about 5,000 to 18,000 feet above the ground, there's going to be a steep drop in temperature as you increase with height. And this will increase the distance. Let me pull up a sounding again. Let me pull up a theoretical sounding for this and show you guys what I mean here. So in this general layer of the atmosphere right here, the steepness of the solid red line will increase its distance from the white dashed line right here. And you want this to be a pretty thick contour right here between the white dashed line and the red solid line. We don't have that very much at the time, but see, we have more inhibition than CAPE, or the measure of instability at that time. But we'll see if that begins to change. Yeah, you see the very next frame, we increase our instability. We do have a bit of a capping inversion down here at the lower levels though. But we'll still have that elevated instability about 3 kilometers up. And then the theoretical parcel of air can rise freely on its own without a forcing mechanism, all the way up to about 10.5 kilometers up here. So between the yellow LFC and the magenta EL line, this is our instability that these showers and thunderstorms could take advantage of, thanks to those steeper mid-level lapse rates, which, as you guys can see down here, it's around 7.5 to 8 degrees Celsius per kilometer. That's how you measure the change in temperature between the two given heights. Darcy Hodges says, love a good thunderstorm. Me too, but I hope we can produce enough precipitation to put out any fires that may start. The precipitable water values are under an inch, so that's a little bit concerning. And with these already high base and elevated storms possible, the probability of significant rainfall reaching the ground is pretty low at the moment. Even with heavier rainfall rates, it's not looking too good. Because the closer the red and the green solid lines are to each other, the more moist the atmospheric profile is, and you want to see that. But the surface temperature dew point spread in this hypothetical sounding is 23 degrees, which is not good. You want these to be as close to each other as physically possible, but the green line will never exceed the red line. So the red line is the limit for the dew point, which is the temperature that you cool the temperature down, the ambient temperature down to, in order to condense water vapor in the atmosphere. Just a little crash course on how dew points work. But again, this is using a pretty low resolution deterministic model, so it's not going to be as precise as one of the convection allowing models, or the CAMs as we call it. Like the HER3 CAM, the NAM3 CAM, the RRFS experimental, for example, just to name a few. Our 0Z RRFS, which goes out to 84 hours, should begin rendering here very soon. So again, our 0Z HER is done. Our 0Z NAM is rendering. And our RRFS should be right behind this anytime now. So really liking the signal on the AI forecast system. It's been pretty consistent the last 3 days, and that is exactly what you want to see. So let me see if I can select the frame here. Let's do 5 a.m. Thursday. See, nice northwest to southeast oriented trough axis here. Strong negative tilt and a pretty potent what's called jet streak right here. Normally, you get the most favorable diffluence aloft or splitting winds in the atmosphere in what's called the right exit region of this. You split this jet streak into quadrants. You have the left and right entrance regions and the left and right exit regions. Normally, you get the most diffluence, the splitting winds, to increase your lift in the right exit region, right up here, which is pretty close to our area. So to watch that closely, see how that verifies. But let me compare this to other model runs across the board. This is the AI GFS, the AI American model, and these line up almost dead on together. European is also very close to it as well. So we have good agreement between the AI GFS, the AI European, and the physics-based European. This is the Canadian deterministic. Again, really good agreement on that as well. The American physics-based model, the GFS, is a little bit farther south and west, but still a pretty good overall picture of what's to be expected. This is the German deterministic. This is a bit farther south and west, so this is kind of an outlier. This is what's called the GSL MPAS RRFS. This is an experimental CAM model as well, high resolution one. And this, at 11 a.m. Thursday, has it a bit farther south and west than the rest. But as you go farther in time, this is eventually going to work its way up towards the Puget Sound area, so we'll compare this to a different time as well. And we have a few other CAMs here as well. This is the low resolution NAM, the 12 km model, which is pretty poor to use for precise forecasting, so we're gonna consider this an outlier for now. This is the high resolution Canadian model, the RDPS. Actually, I take that back. Hang on. So let me get my models right here. The GDPS is the deterministic Canadian model. The RDPS is the regional Canadian model. So a little bit higher resolution than the deterministic, but not the highest resolution, which is called the HRDPS Canadian model. This is the RRFS experimental high resolution model. Again, a really good look on this. And then the UK Met model. This is the deterministic model for the United Kingdom. So we have really good model agreement either way between a lot of our deterministics. This is a really good look for having a precise forecast ready. As long as these don't decide to rug pull on us anytime in the next 48 hours, confidence is pretty darn good at the moment that we could have thunderstorms west of the Cascades anytime Wednesday night through Thursday morning, even Thursday night through Friday morning as well. So let me advance this a little bit. Let's advance it to Friday morning and compare the models again one more time. You guys can see we still have really good model agreement, even going out into Friday morning as well. So there's a good chance that this cutoff low right here actually meanders off the coast for 24 plus hours and keeps spinning this potential convection into the area. It really depends. How many rounds of convection can we get? Will it be one initial round, or will it be constantly spinning this convection onto the coast over a 24-hour period? Right now, it's looking like it's going to be kind of a one and done kind of scenario. So you'll get the convection up from south to north through the area with this southerly flow aloft, and then it'll be done. It'll move out. Maybe Boo says, kind of worried about the timing of the trough. Yeah, the timing's still bouncing around a little bit. Again, we're not even in full range of our cams or our high resolution models, our 3 km or less models. The extremely high resolution, precise, like, the ones that really take advantage of the terrain features around here. Unlike these deterministics, which kind of blend the mountains in with the lowlands, it doesn't get those terrain features as precise as those high-resolution convection-allowing models. So we'll probably have to wait till we go out to tomorrow night to be in full range of said models, and then I'll begin posting those on my pages as well. Hey, Lorinda Glogowski, a longtime fan on Facebook, is tuning in saying, all good as long as no fires get started. Let's hope for cloud to cloud, no ground strikes. What she said, everybody. So yeah, the agreement that this low hangs in place for 24 hours or more is continuing to increase as well. Because all of our available deterministics here, including the AI GFS, the AI European, traditional European, Canadian deterministic, American deterministic, German deterministic, and the UK deterministic, are all lining up towards having this low in a very favorable position early Friday morning as well. Pretty impressive agreement right now for being 2+ days out in the forecast. You don't see this too often. You normally see these rapidly diverging solutions, which we did have this morning, but they seem to have worked out their differences and are lining up in favor of one another about 2 to 3 days out, which is, again, really impressive. I'm liking the consistent signals that I see, which is a great sign. Not a good sign, again, if you want those lightning-induced fire starts. I'm hoping we have enough precipitation to put out those fires as soon as they're started. That is my hope, at least. Yeah, so we have access to all of our 18Z or the 11 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time model runs, but we don't have access to any of the 0Zs yet, which they start. So the time is 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, but they don't usually start initializing till a few hours after. So normally it goes, like, for example, the GFS will go first, and then its AI counterpart right behind it. And then the AI forecast system, the ECMWF, aka the European, and then the traditional European right after that. So those are what I consider the big four: the American, the European, and their AI counterparts. Let's see, then, what happens after that is kind of a toss-up. There's hints that we may get another shortwave through here, which could maybe bring some shower activity, but after that, it looks like the ridge sets up, and we may be in either heat wave, like standard heat wave, or possibly heat dome territory as we go out through the end of July. But take that with a grain of salt right now, because that is a very long-range signal. It'll very likely change. Tell you what, guys, I'm going to take a break to get some food real quick, because I'm feeling a little shaky. I got to get some food in my stomach. I'm going to take a little break for now if you guys want to put this in the background or tune back anywhere between like 15 minutes to a half an hour. Not sure how long it's going to take for me to grub, but I do want to get something in my system real quick. So I am going to get the Uh, gonna get the away from keyboard screen fired up. And we are going, hang on, I'm going to, let's play a loop while I'm doing this real quick. Let's go to the regional sector and let's play a loop of mid-level water vapor at the moment. I'm going to keep this on the loop, and I'm going to take a brief intermission. See, we've been streaming for about, let me check Facebook because that's more accurate. A little bit over an hour, 11 minutes. So thank you guys for your patience. I'm going to be back momentarily. Does look like this weak mid-latitude cyclone is likely going to move into northern Vancouver Island, but it'll bring minimal to no impacts most likely. This is going to miss us. So don't worry about the cyclonic spin that you see right here. It's the upper level low above it that we have to worry about. It is beautiful, I agree. So guys, I'm going to go get some food real quick. I'll see you guys later. Yeah. For anyone just tuning in, this is Anthony with Puget Sound Stormwatch. We'll be right back in about 15, maybe 20 minutes. So hang tight, folks. That's 10. All right, welcome back, everybody. Thank you guys for the patience. Really appreciate it. Feeling much better now, so I think I won't have to worry about getting any more food in my system for the short term. I just discovered I just hit 600 followers on X. It's a huge, huge achievement. And a good majority of it was because of that one post I made about the potential thunderstorms. Getting a lot of traffic right now on that. Also gained a couple more followers on Facebook as well. Check our current follower count. 44,921, so that means we need 79 more. Get the 45K. Yeah, you can see the cyclonic spin from that. If you even want to call that a mid-latitude cyclone up there. You can see it pretty clearly on long-wave infrared satellites. Of course, the true color still showing all this smoke extending all the way off to the coast of Northern California. It's all just being pumped up here right now by that jet stream. Look at this too. It looks like maybe a wind shift might bring some fire smoke from Oregon up here as well. We got a little plume right there of some smoke. See that? There's your Evans Creek Road fire near Grants Pass. And yeah, we might be getting some smoke from that too. So if you know anyone in Willamette Valley and you notice a smoke plume coming your way, it's because of that Evans Creek Road fire down there. Looks like the winds aloft have shifted to more southerly than southwesterly, which is a good sign that this cutoff flow is going to begin modifying the direction and amplitude of the jet stream. You see, just out of curiosity, what we have for temperatures right now. Pretty decently warm around the area. Let's go check some max temperatures today. We got the 77 here at Tacoma. SeaTac almost had an 80-degree day. Topped out at 79. A few other of our climatological recording stations. Bellingham, 73. Hoquiam, 75. And Olympia topped out at 81 degrees today. So a decently warm day today. We should be warming it up tomorrow too. Let's go over some potential high temperatures tomorrow. Let me pull up the National Weather Service site. We'll go explore a few things. These are the forecast graphics. So as you see, here's our day one heat risk right now. This is for today. Day 2 is Tuesday, and you start to see these oranges pop up here. These are areas of moderate heat risk. So where temperatures will likely get over 80 degrees tomorrow. So including areas of the southwest interior, such as Elma and Matlock. Southern Puget Sound area, so inland Tacoma, areas like Bonnie Lake, Enumclaw, Buckley, Sumner, Edgewood, for example. Also areas like Randall and Glenoma, potentially, too. Randall, Glenoma, Morton may be included in that moderate heat risk tomorrow. Here's expected temperatures. That's for Wednesday, so never mind. Hang on, This is the right one. So temperatures expected tomorrow. 82 degrees in Bellingham, 79 in Everett, 80 in Seattle, 82 Tacoma, 87 Olympia and Chehalis. See this little purple contour right there? That could be 90 to 95 degrees possible for the city of Elma. As you guys see, much, much cooler along the coast and a little bit cooler directly along the Puget Sound, but as soon as you get like a mile inland, you're gonna bake quite a bit. That's the expectation, at least. And just looking kind of through the extended real quick. Thursday looks like we have a little bit of a cool down, not too much. But I feel like the national blend of models isn't quite taking that upper level low into account yet. It may be kind of struggling with the position and strength of that upper level low. Either way, we do also have moderate heat risk on Wednesday too for much of the central and southern Puget Sound area. And some of the protected river valleys as well, east of the I-5 corridor. See, and then have varying degrees of moderate heat risk as we go through the rest of the week. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it looks like Saturday we reintroduce the moderate heat risk to a good portion of the foothills and parts of the I-5 corridor as well. Also includes areas like Fairhaven, here near Bellingham, Linden, Sumas, Deming area, Acme, perhaps. A few areas along the Cowlitz River Valley as well. But otherwise, it's minor heat risk, which is mainly temperatures anywhere between 70 to 80 degrees. Something cool here, too, that I like to show as well. You can actually view these graphs online. Go to weather.gov. So here's what you see when you go to weather.gov, right? So click on the general Seattle area up here. It'll take you to the Seattle-Tacoma forecast office. Go to climate and past weather, select local. And then climate graphs and charts. And then you can see all of the data from the month and even the year. So you can select which parameter you want, and then you have 6 climatological stations here. Unfortunately, the Quillayute Airport stopped recording back in June sometime, so... No, actually, you know what? It must have started recording again because it was having issues before. So it might stand corrected on that. No, it's not recording on here for some reason. Interesting. None of that was there before, I swear. But anyways, let's go look at SeaTac, for example, see some stats. So the lowest temperature recorded so far this month was 52 degrees on July 1st. Highest temperature was 85 degrees July 6th. And we have only a trace of precipitation so far on the month. You got tables here, lots of charts, even have some highlights here. So we're currently on track to have the 9th driest July on record since records began in 1945. The 82 years of records. We are currently the 9th driest so far month to date. The average temperature is actually a little over a degree cooler than normal, but the precipitation we're a whopping 0.3 inches below normal, which is dry. Like, it's already dry as it is in July, pardon me. It's dry in July naturally, but only a trace at SeaTac is kind of hard to come back from. Yeah, you can see this little cyclone a bit clearer here on Windy. You also have these embedded areas of low-level cyclonic rotation as well. Underneath the general upper-level low, which... Let's go see what Windy says. It looks like... Let's go to 500 millibars, and... Yeah, you can see it's starting to come together. Piece by piece. Looks like this low is eventually going to become cut off here in the next 12 hours or so. So, jet stream currently is going like this. Once it cuts off from the jet stream, the jet's going to go basically zonal, which means it's parallel to lines of latitude or nearly parallel to lines of latitude from west to east. Then this cutoff low is going to separate from that, meander off the coast here, and most likely fire up some convection here across Washington and Oregon, and even parts of BC as well, from Wednesday, possibly all the way into Friday. So you see this huge area of high pressure here. You can see the high here. This is what's being broadcasted as the heat dome firing up over the Midwest United States right now. And of course, that's going to have, well, this upper level low here is going to have ramifications on that downstream for sure. And you see this trough swinging out of the Hudson Bay as well, which looking like we might have an omega block pattern setting up, which, if you guys missed it earlier, it's where you have high pressure in the center and then two troughs, two areas of low pressure on either side. So it basically looks like the Greek letter omega, the way the jet stream goes. Those can sometimes last for days, even upwards of a week plus. So we'll see. If we go forward in time again, let me check on models as well, see if anything has started rendering yet. Okay, we do have our 0Z NAM model, the regional one. So let's see if this has trended more towards the deterministics, which it absolutely has. So our NAM has caved. Let's compare this to the last one. You guys can see the last couple runs, it's been trending farther north and east and getting more of a negative tilt. Again, that northwest to southeast trough axis here. It's got a very sharp negative tilt, and you know, the greatest area of defluence is basically right over us. This is a pretty good setup for thunderstorms west of the Cascades, pardon me. Okay. Let's try this. Yeah, again, we're working with lower resolution here, but this shows some of that coastal convection firing up around 8 a.m. or so on Thursday. So it does agree with the European on that. See, it has possibly some more isolated convection over the Puget Sound a little bit later on in the morning, around 11 a.m. or so. And then it spins most of that shower activity off the coast. So I'm really liking the signal I'm getting from the NAM here. Unfortunately, the precipitation signal right now is pretty lackluster. That part's not good. But we'll see. We will continue to see how this evolves over the next couple of days. But you can see here's your main plume of monsoonal moisture being pulled up from the desert southwest. And you see some of it works west of the Cascades, and we get quite a bit of water that is capable of precipitating over the area. However, it really depends, again, on the moisture profiles around the area. If we can somehow get a deep moist layer through the atmosphere, which unfortunately is pretty unlikely in this scenario, then we wouldn't have to worry about evaporative cooling and dry lightning and all that fun stuff. But most likely scenario is we're going to have some dry lightning, and it's probably going to start some wildfires around the region. So just have to have to be aware of that. Be aware that that is a chance. Yeah, if you shift this like 50 miles more to the east, then it is truly game on this model. But I do really like that signal from the NAM. Let's see what other models we got ready to go here. 0Z RRFS is rendering. So if the 12 km NAM is caving, then that means the 3 km NAM is also caving. It actually kind of has a signal for double barrel closed lows here. We got a closed low right there, then we got another closed low way down here. And if these two can somehow merge right off the coast and stay stagnant right there and just spin for a while, then you can definitely see some thunderstorms popping up here on the high-res models. We're not fully in range yet. We're probably going to need 3 or 4 more model runs to see how this perspires. But I'm still, this is an okay signal. It's not the signal I was hoping to see, but again, we'll have to watch closely to see how it evolves. And then the RRFS, let's check the trend on this so far. Yeah, it's a very favorable trend. See, there was a bit of disagreement before. Like let's see, this model run was 18Z yesterday. So this was 11 a.m. This was the 5 p.m. run yesterday. See, completely disagreeing, keeping the cutoff low way off the coast and just having us bake. No showers, no thunderstorms, just straight dry heat. And then the consistency begins to line up a bit more as we go into last night's 11 p.m. model run on the RRFS. And then you start to see that cutoff low a bit more apparent as soon as we get to this morning's 5 a.m. model run. And then this is the 11 a.m. model run. And then the 5 p.m. so far. But you notice the trend the last few model runs is trending closer north and east. And we'll have to watch exactly where this jet streak is placed, because that's going to have big implications on who sees thunderstorms and who doesn't. But so far, the signal from the RRFS is looking good for thunderstorm activity west of the Cascades so far. Again, we'll have to watch how it evolves in the short term once the model really starts to render out to the full 84 hours. It's going to be a slow process, but... Ooh, yeah, we actually have heights dropping down to 570 decameters, so it's actually showing the closed low getting deeper, aka stronger, which would really bolster our thunderstorm chances just from that. So let me check this trend again since we have a few more frames. Yeah, it's actually been pretty consistent. So it's been holding on to the 570 decameter or the 5,700 meter or 5.7 kilometer height of the trough for the last few model runs, which is good consistency. Let's see, Leon Ebby, my Davis station shows last rain here in Auburn on June 27th at 0.15 inches. Yeah, you're right. Big time yikes on that for sure. Baby.boo back also ate dinner, and Julie Rogers ate a tuna casserole. Sweet. I'll be honest, I grabbed the first thing I could see. I grabbed a banana and got a couple bowls of Cinnamon Toast Crunch. So, breakfast for dinner. But yeah, I'm really digging the trend so far here on the RRFS experimental model. Wonder what the MPAS-based model is showing. Now that it's... Okay, that hasn't started rendering yet, so never mind that. That's old data. We don't want that. Julie Rogers says, love it. Perfect. The Canadian regional model just started rendering as well. We'll have to see how this evolves. Because so far, it's following in the footsteps of its previous runs. See, it's kind of bouncing around with the strength of this. It even had the heights at 500 millibars as low as 5,670 meters, which is decently low. We switched this over to anomalies. Unfortunately, I can't see the anomalies on this model run, like on this type of model. But that's pretty low compared to average this time of the year. And then you see it's kind of bouncing around between 567 decameters and 573 decameters. So 573 would be weaker, 567 would be stronger. Yeah, so you can see it's the run-to-run agreement here on the RDPS, which is the Canadian regional model, which has very similar resolution to the 12km NAM. So it's got about 12 kilometer resolution. It's not super precise when it comes to terrain features, but you can still get a pretty good idea what goes on in the upper levels using this map, just from the Canadian algorithm. Now let's also follow up on fires, see if anything has changed. We have a moment. Do have one down here, the Boone fire. 1 minute ago, this is brand new. Slow moving brush fire down here along Euler Road and Boone Road, near Mary's Corner and Ethel. So, Lewis County, hoping this gets put out quick because it's slow moving and it doesn't have much fuel to work with from what I can see. I'm hoping crews have that out fairly quickly, but if you're in the area, just keep your eyes peeled on this. Again, around the area of Euler Road and Boone Road here in Lewis County. Just outside of Mary's Corner and Ethel, south of US 12. Other than that, I'm not seeing any new updates. They did reduce the Queen Fire from 5 acres to 3 acres, though. So it's good to see that that is less than anticipated. Other than that, we have no immediate updates on the fire conditions since the last update so far. Yeah, so let's get a visual look here on Windy, because I feel like this this will show you a pretty good idea of what's going on in the mid to upper levels. You see this low begins to cut off from the primary jet stream as we go into the overnight hours tonight. And then it just kind of meanders a bit off the Washington and Oregon coasts. And after that, it's going to slow down, and the jet streak's going to amplify on the southeast side of it. And it's looking like, again, this is using the European model, which is usually the model of choice for most forecasters. It's due to its historical accuracy. We can get a pretty good idea of what's going on here as we go through Wednesday morning. Still pretty stable. Looks like it's increasing in strength a little bit. Yeah, it's increasing in strength quite a bit. It's at around 5,685 meters. And then it starts to develop that negative tilt as we go into Thursday morning. And then this would be around prime time for our area. Early to late Thursday morning, right in that time frame when it's right off the coast and it's spinning these southerly winds aloft into the area, creating some defluence in the atmosphere and inducing that lift. That is probably going to be the time where we see widespread thunderstorms west of the Cascades under the best conditions. Everything has to line up just right for this to happen like this. As we go through Friday, you see the upper level low begins to retrograde to the north and begins to merge again with the jet stream. And it merges back into the upper level jet, and it is history. Just like that. As we go into the extended looking into next week, you again notice high pressure right here, anticyclonic clockwise flow around the Pacific Northwest. That is the development of an upper level ridge over the region. And that is likely going to warm us up and dry us out considerably. So, heads up on that. Yeah, very strong ridge signal here as we go farther into the European extended forecast. Well, see, that's something to watch too. We could have another trough try to dig into this around the July 23rd timeframe. Depending on how far east this trough moves, it might keep us a little bit cooler, or at least near normal. But right now on the European, we are getting a pretty good signal that we could have some weak upper level troughing move in, which may introduce at least cooler temperatures and clouds, maybe if we're lucky, some showers. That passes through. It looks like we drop yet another trough. That would be interesting right there. We dropped a super deep upper level trough directly over the area. That could bring an additional chance of thunderstorms. That would bring quite a bit of cold air aloft to definitely reintroduce another thunderstorm chance as we go later into July. But this is pretty much wish casting at the moment. This is fantasy land. Take this with a grain of salt. This very likely will not happen. This is just a huge what if. But and then you have these two lows playing Fujiwara effect around each other, where two bodies revolve around each other, in this case low pressure systems, called the Fujiwara effect. But that would swing yet another upper level trough over the area by July 27th. But let's just ignore that for now. Let's focus on what's going on this week. I see a couple comments popping in. Check the NAM sounding. It appears there's quite the warm nose on Thursday. 850 millibar winds flowing to the west from the east, mixing eastern Washington air. Yeah, the thing is, most of the activity is going to be overnight, and we're going to have peak elevated instability, lift, and moisture lineup during likely the very early morning hours on Thursday. So we're not going to have any surface-based action going on. So the warm nose coming in for the elevated convection instability isn't really going to matter much. But the stronger the warm nose is, then the higher the cloud bases are going to be, and therefore the less chances we have for any beneficial precipitation to come in. Let's see if we can pull up the high resolution NAM and see what it has to say so far. Yeah, we definitely have that signal, but that low is just a bit too far south. Hoping it starts to move a bit northeast with each new model run. And then we get this area of defluence and this strong jet streak right under us to really help amplify those thunderstorms, assuming they produce beneficial precipitation. Let's go look at the 850 millibar layer. Yeah, I can definitely see some easterlies coming off the Cascades at 5,000 feet. It's the 850 millibar layer right there. Check 925, which is 2,500 feet. You have winds coming out of the north. And then at the surface, very little flow coming out of the north, but onshore flow coming down the Strait of Juan de Fuca at that time. Yeah, this cool ocean air coming in is going to completely eliminate any surface-based storm activity. So all of this is for sure going to be elevated. Let me pull up a forecast sounding on the NAM, like you said, too. Get an idea, but we're getting more frames here, and yeah, this is just an absolutely outstanding look on the new Canadian regional model, the RDPS. So the Canadian, the American, and the European are all starting to line up at just the right time, and we're getting good model-to-model consistency on what we could see. Looks like Thursday and the Friday. It's leaning more from a Wednesday night into more of a Thursday and the Friday kind of ordeal. Let's go pull up the NAM sounding around that time. I'm going to pull it up for the South Sound right now. See if we get any pretty crazy soundings. Hang on, bear with me. I don't know why this just doesn't auto-zoom, but yeah, so at this time, this is 3Z, so this is 8 p.m. on Thursday. Yeah, see, we do have a bit of a warm nose there for sure. Yeah, like you said, at around 850 millibars. So this is 1,000 millibars. This is the surface. 850 millibars, 5,000 feet. 700 millibars, 10,000 feet. 500 millibars, 18,000 feet. So we're kind of examining the low to mid levels of the atmosphere here. You see where the red solid line and the white dash line are separated here. When the white dash line is to the right of the red solid line, this is instability that showers and storms can utilize. So cloud bases, the LCL here, condense at around 2.5 kilometers or so. So these are going to be high base and elevated because the difference between the LFC line and the LCL line is pretty considerable. So yeah, the convection starts without a separate forcing mechanism. The convection starts where the white line, the white dashed line crosses to the right of the red solid line here. As soon as it crosses back over here, when the white dashed line moves to the left of the red solid line, you hit what's called your equilibrium level, the EL line here. That is where the cloud tops flatten out and top off. So that is theoretically how high the cloud tops can grow, assuming you don't have crazy updrafts and get overshooting tops. That's what gives you that anvil shape in the clouds when you have that flat line and then a little bulge in the center and then the flat line again, that anvil shape. That's if you have crazy momentum in your storm's updrafts, but that's not going to happen in this case. That's definitely not going to happen. Down here we have pretty favorable mid-level lapse rates. Our 700 to 500 millibar lapse rate is a whopping 8.3 degrees Celsius per kilometer, which is really good. Low-level lapse rates lacking quite a bit though. From the surface to 3,000 meters, less than 6 degrees Celsius per kilometer. So that just furthermore reduces any chances of surface-based convection from taking place. Right now it's looking like high base, kind of mid to low top cells possible in this environment. This is just based on the NAM though. If we look over at the holograph, we do actually have a little bit of some low-level turning here. We do have some of that wind shear, changing wind strength and direction with height. This holograph here, sorry if it's a little hard to see, but so each of these numbers here, this is 1 kilometer higher in the atmosphere. So 0 to 1 kilometers, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, etc. And this low-level curvature right here, if we had surface-based convection, we'd probably be talking about having funnel clouds and maybe even a weak spin-up tornado in this environment. But yeah, it's not going to be surface-based, so the chance of seeing any funnels or tornadoes is extremely low, if not none. Let's see, maybe dot boo. Don't know if the mountains would affect that. However, this might not be that smart. So if we can get something called orographic lift, it's where we have mountains and terrain features enhance the lift and fire off these storms. If we can get that flow aloft to be a bit more out of the southeast, we could get some of these cells to potentially form over the Cascades and then roll off into the lowlands. Similar events I could think of where this was the case was, I believe, August 10th, 2013 was similar. September 5th was a textbook example, having that southeasterly flow coming off the mountains. I think August 17th, 2024 was the same way. And then, of course, the sort of infamous March 26, 2025. That was a little bit more out of the south. But we did have some cells initiate over the mountains that tried rolling off into the foothills that were borderline severe, but they never got going. Yeah, either way, if we shift this low on the NAM 50 miles farther to the east, this would be a much better look. But either way, the trend is still looking good. It's moving farther north and east with each model run. That's what you want to see for storms. Looks like we're almost done, a little over halfway done with our 0Z RRFS, and that's a really good look again. Yeah, it's trending even more in the right direction. So you can take the last 3 runs here of the RRFS model for comparison. So this was 2 runs ago, the last run, and the current run. Farther north and east, this strong wind field is getting closer to the Puget Sound area. This would create ample defluence to help initiate and sustain elevated storms if all the other ingredients line up right. Yeah. So this is Wednesday afternoon, and the lightning signal is increasing over the Cascades and the foothills just east of the Cascade crest. These darker colors here, these are increased lightning probabilities. We look at composite reflectivity to see what's going on. You can see it looks like the convection may initially take off around just afternoon on Wednesday, and it will likely get these dry, high base showers and thunderstorms moving across parts of eastern Washington and eastern Oregon as we go through the afternoon time on Wednesday. Sorry guys, I got the hiccups. Very poor time to have that. Yeah, a few of these could produce some beneficial rainfall, but I think most of this is going to evaporate before it hits the ground. The profiles are probably a little bit too dry. But you really want that deep moist layer, which we normally don't get when we bring monsoonal moisture into the picture. I bet this is going to look beautiful on satellite. As we go into Wednesday, I bet we're going to have a pretty nice cyclone off the coast. Unfortunately, satellite doesn't work on the RRFS. It's busted. That's the only real tidbit, but let's go back to that. Oh yeah, this negative tilt, deep low pressure center, nice jet streak rounding the southeast side of it, and plenty of defluent flow aloft. This is likely going to be a pretty potent thunderstorm event as long as these models don't pull the rug at the very last minute. That's what it's looking like right now. It's leaning more towards thunderstorms than it is being a bust. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to bust. There's always a chance that it doesn't pan out, and we just get high temperatures and clear skies instead, with maybe some smoke. With each frame coming out here, I'm more and more impressed by the orientation of this upper level trough. Yeah, it's really impressive. Just the amount of model agreement that we're getting is mind-blowing to me. It's, yeah, see the NAM's still kind of an outlier right there. We're still pretty early in the model runs. But the general indications are as the event starts to get set up Wednesday night, pretty good agreement on the strength and position of this upper level low. Pretty darn good agreement on that, which is exactly what you want to see. Yeah, this fire smoke from the Evans Creek fire is being lofted north. You may notice some of this smoke if you're in the Willamette Valley in areas of south central and southwest Washington. May get a little bit of extra fire smoke tonight before the sun sets from this fire down here, the Evans Creek Road fire near Grants Pass. It's pushing out a considerable amount of smoke right now. And this haze that you see right here, this is what's riding the jet stream into our area. What has been hanging around our area for the last 24 hours or so. Now, you can see the bigger picture here. You can see just how far off the Pacific the smoke extends, and then it wraps back around the north side here. Yeah, so the smoke's being lofted out of Yukon, Alaska, and the Northwest Territories, wrapped around the upper level low, and then back into the Pacific Northwest, like so. Pretty crazy look. Again, water vapor loop. You see the cyclones and you see the anticyclones and the jet stream. Lots of small undulations in the jet stream. These undulations eventually become ridges and troughs, just like the trough that's forming right now off our coast, and will eventually become cut off from the jet stream and meander off the coast. All right, just looking at a few things on Discord real quick. All right, if we have any new viewers that haven't done a call sign in a while, welcome in everyone. This is Anthony with Puget Sound Stormwatch live streaming on Facebook and YouTube. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Doing some live stream weather discussion on the incoming thunderstorm potential as soon as Wednesday afternoon or Wednesday night potentially. Looks like it's starting to lean more towards an early morning to afternoon Thursday kind of event. Details are still very much unclear because we don't have full high-res model data yet. But we're working with deterministic data and ensemble forecasts, and they're starting to agree a lot on what is coming up, and it's leaning farther towards thunderstorms west of the Cascades very early Thursday morning with each hour that passes. The confidence continues to increase as time progresses. You see there's surface level cyclone, and then this little dip you see here, that is our upper level low beginning to cut off from the upper level jet, aka the polar jet stream. So this right here, this is your area of interest. That's what we're going to be watching the next 48 hours, is how this evolves. This will have massive implications on what kind of weather we get from midweek through the latter half of this week. All comes down to this. Harry Thorning, I missed you, Anthony. Thankful for your expertise on the current conditions in the T-storms. Thank you for tuning in. I think Facebook may be doing the thing again where it doesn't refresh my comments automatically, so I'm going to have to keep an eye on that. I'm lucky I saw your comment in a timely manner, so. Yeah, thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Appreciate it. Yeah, this little cyclone right here looked pretty cool there for a little bit. It's starting to decay as it moves off towards northern Vancouver Island. See this counterclockwise rotation? That's your area of surface low pressure right there. It doesn't tell you what's going on in the upper levels, though. That's why we have things like infrared satellite and water vapor imagery to really tell you what's going on above us. Guys, look at some of these high temperatures today east of the Cascades in Oregon and Washington. We had a couple of, well, we had one preliminary 110 right there. This is assuming it was in the shade and not the sunlight. So still sets to 100 degrees. So there's a good chance this is probably in direct sunlight and not in the shade. So I'm because based on nearby stations, it looks like it got up to just shy of 100 degrees today. Some pretty good agreement on the nearby stations, but this might be an outlier right here. Probably user error right there. But either way, we got well up into the upper 90s around Hanford, Columbia River Valley, anywhere in the upper 80s to upper 90s as well. Look, if you wanted it to be cool today, the place to be, Camp Muir, Mount Rainier. High of 43 degrees, currently 40 degrees. If you like it nice and cool, that's the place that you want to be. Not too cool. I think this has got to be an outlier. That's a huge outlier. So just ignore that. But might have had a couple of 90s here west of the Cascades as well, over the Willapa Hills and near the Black Hills. So this is usually one of the warmest stations west of the Cascades here. That's just because it's sheltered from the ocean air, sheltered from the Puget Sound, and when the wind comes out of the north, you can get this downslope compressional heating off the Olympics as well. Basically a very localized thermal trough right on the south side of the Olympics, where the air sinks, compresses, and loses pressure, but begins to rise after that. So your pressure decreases, it induces a surface trough. That's what they call a thermally induced trough, or a thermal trough for short. And that's what gives us a lot of our huge heat waves around here. All of our historic heat waves have been from very strong thermal troughs. All right, I'm gonna need to drink some water after that, folks. Oh yeah, this RRFS, it's looking crazy right now. Sunset, it's happening right now as well. It's not fully setting, but starting to get a little bit of a orange tint outside. That, of course, is from some of that upper level fire smoke coming through here. You know, that haze that you started to see yesterday over the horizon. Still kind of mingling around the mid to upper levels of the Earth's troposphere, which is the lowest layer of the atmosphere where all weather happens. Yeah, with each frame that renders on this model, I'm even more impressed. Have a unusually deep area of low pressure here. Very unusual for this time of year for sure, but not unheard of. I think we've had similar looks before, like August 17th, 2024, if you remember that crazy lightning outbreak that we had on that day. That was an incredible day of weather. And it was also high precipitation, so not a lot of the rain evaporated before it accumulated on the ground. So that helped mitigate any widespread wildfire concerns. And we even had a couple of severe thunderstorms over the Cascades, too, and the foothills. You know, if you notice, there were a few severe thunderstorm warnings that went out over NOAA weather radio. Might have even gotten those wireless emergency alerts as well for that. But yeah, August 17th, 2024 was a very, very much overperforming day, without a doubt. This is 11 a.m. on Thursday. Let's check radar again. Simulated radar. And that's a much better look for thunderstorms. This would likely have the strongest storms along or off the coast, but some isolated cell activity capable of producing lightning, thunder, small hail, and so on over the Puget Sound corridor pretty early on Thursday morning. Does look like we may have a little bit of convection ahead of the main line at around the turn of the day, going from Wednesday into Thursday. This would be at midnight. And then it has some of that activity moving north towards Everett, going to 1 a.m. And then the main area of convection likely fires up around 3 or 4 in the morning. And then it just starts getting active after that. See, so this is a great look if you want thunderstorms, but when it comes to precipitation, it's all right. It's better off the coast. It's okay in the Puget Sound. It's not going to be enough to make a huge difference, assuming none of this evaporates before it accumulates. But it's better than nothing. It's better than having completely dry thunderstorms in this already bone dry environment where fire fuels are primed and ready to go for an ignition. So I'll take this over nothing any day. Any day. We look at wind gusts. Does look like the storms on Wednesday east of the Cascades could produce some strong wind gusts. There we go. My cursor wasn't updating. Some of these gusts could get up to 50 miles per hour over these already fire-impacted areas. But west of the Cascades, doesn't look like these storms are going to be producing much, if any, wind. Maybe a little breeze, but I think due to the elevated nature of these storms, not much of these downburst winds are going to be making it towards the ground. At least those are my initial thoughts. So I'm not seeing anything indicative right now of strong to even severe thunderstorms at the moment. These ones east of the Cascades, these would be strong because these wind gusts are pushing 45 to 50 miles per hour, which severe criteria is wind gusts of 58 miles per hour or greater, or hail 1 inch in diameter or greater. It's either or, so and/or, either one or both qualifies as a severe thunderstorm. Lightning does not indicate whether a storm is severe or not. It's completely independent. Lightning flash density. Oh, looks like the best chance of lightning. Let's see, this is 8 a.m. Thursday. Right now it's highlighting the ocean beaches. So like Ocean City, Mo Cliffs, Pacific Beach, even parts of Ocean Shores are just on the outline of that initial burst of convection right there. And see pretty good lightning signals showing up initially here across the Puget Sound area and the Cascade foothills as well. Thursday morning. See, that's a pretty decent signal right there. Let me pull a sounding and see what it says. Doesn't even have convection, of course. The one before it does have convection. But again, another very robust warm nose right here. Where the red line is to the right of the white dashed line, that's a warm nose. This is where air cannot rise freely on its own without an additional forcing mechanism to force it above that warm nose and into the layer of free convection. And then the storm tops aren't looking too intense at the moment either. Pretty decent for Western Washington standards, a little over 9 kilometers, but not as high as it could be, for sure. There's a lot of turning in the hodograph as well in the low levels of the hodo. Like, you know, the 0 to 3 kilometer shear is pretty impressive for around here, but again, we're not going to have much surface-based action to utilize the lower level of this hodograph right here. The profiles in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere are much more linear, which would, you know, reduce any concerns, for example, like tornadoes. Because the instability is already elevated as it is. That alone takes tornadoes out of the equation. Like, there is 0 chance of tornadoes in this setup. 0. Yeah, very, very stubborn warm nose. That's going to prevent any surface-based action from taking off. That's what I'm seeing right now. Yeah, the instability is very, very elevated. What I like, though, is how precipitable water is over 1.25 inches. So, like that, really anything over 1 inch is beneficial. Yeah, it looks like right now it has peak convection on this model between about 5 and 8 a.m. on Thursday. That's probably going to be our corridor for the best thunderstorm chances west of the Cascades. This is just based on this one model run right now. Now let's see how it goes from the time of the model run to the time of the event, most likely. So we probably fire off some convection tomorrow over NorCal, northwestern Nevada, eastern Oregon, and parts of Idaho and Washington. It would be like extreme southeastern Washington, for example. And then you can see this upper level low starting to get its act together. By tomorrow afternoon, we'll probably have a pretty good idea of what's going to happen. By then, should have a pretty good idea. And we start spinning these rounds of showers and thunderstorms up towards eastern Oregon and eastern Washington. And then it looks like we might get a little shortwave impulse to really fire off these thunderstorms along the crest and the east of the crest. Wednesday afternoon around 1 or 2 p.m. Those storms continue until the nighttime. And as we go into Thursday morning, then we fire off our convection west of the Cascades. And this model run's almost done. We have 4 more frames till it's complete. Then we can see the entire picture. All right, so initially I'm going to say we're going to start wrapping things up around 9 o'clock tonight unless we get a surge of people in. Actually kind of impressed because this is the first time in a long time I've put out any sort of scheduled stream, like posted it an hour ahead of time, where people could RSVP to the stream or at least show some sort of interest, like the event ahead of time, share the event ahead of time if they wanted to. It wasn't that impulse, okay, I'm starting stream like I usually do. Pretty slow so far, not gonna lie. Think I may have to advertise the next stream better, which is probably gonna be on Wednesday. I'm leaning more towards Wednesday rather than tomorrow because Wednesday is when the event is actually supposed to start. I think I'll be posting the event sometime tomorrow afternoon, most likely, and then just let it sit for a day and see what the interest is like. And then we'll go from there. Yeah, that's a pretty quick moving line of storms if this were to verify. So it would be in and out in maybe an hour and a half. From what I can see so far. Check the FV3. Yeah, it's not really liking it on the FV3, but I don't use this cam too much, to be honest. Julie says, if I see or hear a funky weather, I get on and look for you. Yeah, without a doubt, keep your notifications on for this channel for live streams. Because then you'll know right away, assuming YouTube sends the notification, the moment that I go live. Or if I post a scheduled live, like I schedule it ahead of time, that should also notify you as well. Let's see, what do we have? Okay, it's a German model, but I don't use the German too much. We're the 831, so we're probably less than an hour from the GFS beginning to render, and then we're just shy of 2 hours away from the European for it to start initializing its 0Z runs. I'm likely not going to stay up long enough for that, so I think I'm just going to post the model runs that come out tomorrow morning. The 6Zs once they're done rendering. 6Z again is 11 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time tonight, but it takes about 3.5 to 4.5 hours, depending on the model, for it to begin initializing. You know, that's just how it works. But I guess out of curiosity, let's see what the German ensemble wants to do with this. That's not the right parameter. Unfortunately, they don't have a way of seeing heights on this. That's disappointing. See if they show it on the... Yeah, they do. On the deterministic German model. Again, fantastic look on even the German model, too. Yeah, this has things starting Thursday morning and then continuing through Friday afternoon. But there's probably going to be a very narrow window Thursday morning for this precipitation to work its way into the area. Yeah, 5, 8, good signal there on some convection. Maybe some precipitation that makes it to the ground. But this is a good convection signal, even on a model like the Icon, which is the German one. So, good signal on that one, too. For what it's worth. I think we went over most of our model runs that were in range so far, so. Yeah, it's just got that initial round of convection early Thursday morning, and then that's it. That's the event. According to this one model right now. Go and look at water vapor. Yeah, you can see this trough really starting to dig into that jet stream. And it's probably a few hours away from becoming cut off from the jet. And then that's when we're going to have to watch things closely and see how this evolves in real time. Yeah, 600 followers on X/Twitter. That's crazy. Never would have thought I'd gotten there even a year ago. Never would have thought I would have gotten to that point. Just realized, for some reason, it's not notifying me if anyone subscribes on Facebook. See, a couple people subscribed on Facebook, but I'm not getting the notification for some odd reason. So if you subscribed, I'm so sorry for not giving you a shout out. It's not showing up at all on my end. But if you're still watching right now and you subscribe, thank you so much. Really appreciate the generosity. I've been talking more in depth about this setup on my Facebook subscribers hub and my premium Patreon as well. So anyone who pledges on Patreon or subscribes on Facebook, I go a lot more in depth into the setup and talk about things several days in advance before I make it public. And I just kind of add my persona to it. So if you guys want more intel on what's coming up, please consider subscribing or becoming a patron on Patreon. If you're watching on Facebook, then you can subscribe there. I cross-post all of my Facebook subscriber posts to Patreon. For the people who don't have Facebook, that's where you can find my blogs as well. And the link is in the description on YouTube. As far as I know, let me check on that. Yes, it is. So you can find my Patreon over here. Let me pop it up as just an example real quick. Hang on, bear with me. Okay, yeah, here we go. Yeah, so these are my posts that I'm making. And you can also find my subscriber posts here. I'll give you a preview real quick. Yeah, so this is a preview of the write-up that I did on my Patreon. Same on the Facebook subscriber hub as well. So I go talking about how the model disparity continues yet another day. This was earlier. This was before the newest model runs came out and started agreeing with each other. So I normally make these posts once a day over on both platforms. So I don't usually take any long hiatuses from that. I did like later in June, early in July, I think, but No, it was later in June, and then I fired it up later in June, and I've been doing everyday posts since. I've been grinding on these write-ups and making sure you guys have the most uh, in-depth write-up possible. And of course, a little TLDR at the end for anyone who doesn't want to read breaks of text. But that's what the subscriber tab looks like. This is what you'll see on the front page, except anything on the premium Patreon tab will be blurred out. Yeah, I post about fires. I post about post radar images. I post satellite forecast discussions. I've got a lot going on here. And most of these are public and free. It's just these ones, the ones that are locked, these are the ones, giving you guys a quick little sneak peek here. These are the ones where I go really in depth and looking out in the future. Like this was 2 days ago talking about the model disagreement, for example. Yeah, that's Patreon. For anyone watching on YouTube that does not have Facebook, this would be the best way outside of coffee donations to help support the page. Let's go to 8 o'clock. Yeah, it's going to get well established very soon. Make sure we're at 500. Yep, there we go. So again, for review, here is our upper level low pressure system right here. This is going to become cut off from the jet stream overnight and then meander off the coast and give us potential thunderstorm chances as soon as Wednesday night into early Thursday morning. Brady also said, send the rain to Idaho, please. The best I can do is probably dry lightning, I'm afraid. Very little rain, most likely, from that setup. Yeah, you can see this upper level low really getting established there now. You can see it clear as day on upper level water vapor imagery. Yeah, there's the counterclockwise rotation in the mid to upper levels, and then the jet stream plowing into the area. So by the time we wake up tomorrow, this thing will probably already be maturing off the coast and separated from the upper level jet. I'll be posting an update on that tomorrow 100% on Facebook, Patreon, X, Blue Sky, you name it. Yeah, I missed 2 Facebook subscribers in the last hour. That's disappointing. I normally get a little chime when someone subscribes or sends stars. I get a nice chime over the speaker. But that did not work for some reason. That is disappointing. All right. What do you say, folks? Voice is getting a little burnt out. Not a lot of people tuning in right now. I think it's probably about a good time to wrap it up. Am I right? Unless anyone has any last minute comments, questions, or concerns that they'd like to address, please feel free to do so now. Okay, This model's done. Yep. Does look like there could be a secondary round of convection east of the Cascades early Friday morning as well, before that upper level low spins out of the area. Model supports it. The first round would be Wednesday afternoon, and then probably a little reprieve on Thursday, but then very early Friday morning, convection's back. That's the signal I'm seeing right now on that. See, they deactivated that fire from the map. Good, that means it's most likely out. Ooh. May have a little situation down here in Lewis County, though. Fire is slow moving and heading towards the south tree line per incident command. Good news is it's slow moving. The bad news is it's moving towards trees. So Euler Road, Boone Road area here near Mary's Corner and Ethel, just south of US Highway 12 in Lewis County. Do be advised of what's going on down there. Just please give the firefighters room. Let them work and hope they can put this fire out very quickly. Other than that, I don't see any new updates at this time. Yeah, this fire was contained. Not sure why we have power outages, though. That's a little bit odd. See a few power outages around here on the map, including this one for a couple of blocks in Arlington. Pretty decent sized power outage here on the Lummi reservation too. Paxton Highway area, 153 customers out. I know there hasn't been much wind today, so it's probably not from the wind. A couple of very small outages here, very localized. But yeah. Surprisingly, right now, at the moment, not overall, but at the moment, Washington State isn't doing too bad fire-wise. But, of course, with this dry convection likely coming through Wednesday and the Friday, this map is probably going to start lighting up again after that comes through. Just please practice extra vigilance if you're outside. Don't throw cigarettes out the window. Make sure you're not dragging chains on the road. Just, make sure you're not lighting off fireworks. Please be smart. Please. That's all I ask. All right. Guess we'll do a couple closing remarks before we wrap things up on this stream. And temperatures tomorrow are going to be pretty warm, so just be aware of that. We'll look at the national blend of models, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So you see these whites around the area? Those are temperatures pushing 80 degrees. Over 80 degrees. Some areas could even hit 90 tomorrow. Like the warmest areas are going to be the river valleys away from the water, so the protected river valleys, and the southwest interior, particularly the I-5 corridor. Probably going to be one of the warmest spots west of the Cascades tomorrow, where areas like Chehalis, so Olympia down through Little Rock, Maytown, Grand Mound, Chehalis, Centralia, Napavine, Winlock, Toledo, Vader. Probably going to get well into the 80s, even pushing 90 degrees tomorrow. This is Tacoma and Seattle along the water. This is not counting the airports. I don't know exactly where they're basing these forecasts off of. I can tell you right now, SeaTac's right around there, and it's predicting around 82 degrees for a peak high tomorrow. And then Tacoma away from the water should easily hit 80, but Probably stick around the mid 70s along the water, like the Narrows or the waterfront. Anywhere along Commencement Bay. Should stay in the mid, maybe upper 70s in more extreme cases. But as soon as you get like a quarter to a half mile inland, you're going to hit the 80-degree contour pretty quickly. So there is going to be a chance of heat illness tomorrow. That's why they have introduced a moderate heat risk for those sensitive to heat illness and heat stroke tomorrow. Please take extra precaution if you're outside. Make sure if you're in the water, please wear a life vest. You can easily go into shock the moment you hit the water. It's all too common, and we've lost way too many lives because of people not wearing life vests. When it's hot outside, they jump in the water. It's 20 to 30 degrees cooler right off the bat, and your body goes into shock, and that's it. Lights out. So just please, if you go out to the water, wear a life vest. Save yourself the hassle. Wednesday again looks like another decently warm day around the area. And then you see we start to cool things down a bit. I think this model's now taking that upper level low into account. So it's cooling us off anywhere between 5 to 10 degrees for much of western Washington. And then we start to warm up again on Friday as that upper level low moves out. And then we're back to 80 degrees in some areas again by Saturday. Then you notice we start going out towards early next week, and look at what happens. The white comes back. These areas of the I-5 corridor, south of Olympia, could easily hit 90 degrees. It's even showing mid to upper 80s for much of the I-5 corridor here in the interior Puget Sound by Monday. And then Tuesday, again, likely another exceptionally hot day next Tuesday. And then maybe 1 or 2 degrees cooler next Wednesday. And then Thursday around the same. So we're likely going to see slightly to well above normal temperatures through the beginning to the latter half of next week. Like beginning through midweek is likely going to I wouldn't say break daily temperature records, but definitely be warmer than average for the month of July due to that high pressure building after that upper level low moves out and retrogrades. That's something we got to watch closely to see if we have any areas that get upgraded to major heat risk, which is definitely in the cards if things pan out the right way. Okay. Guess what, guys? I dragged it on long enough. The GFS is starting. Let's see what the 0Z GFS shows for this upper level low. You guys are all going to see it here firsthand, right off the press. All right, drum roll, please. Again, another brilliant look from the American GFS model. Last two runs are very consistent. Look, almost nothing has changed. See, there was a bit more disparity over the last couple of days, but the last two model runs have been locked in on this. When I say locked in, I mean locked in. Okay, gonna refresh comments one more time, then we're gonna wind things down for the day. Also, guys, I don't talk about this enough in my streams. I do have merch. You guys want to go check out the store? The link is in the description on YouTube, and I have it pinned to the front of my Facebook page. And it looks like, let me make sure this is still valid. Yes. 5 days left, 20% off all merchandise here at the Puget Sound Stormwatch store. I have several designs here. This one was specially requested. I'm probably going to take that down here momentarily because the requester didn't get any merch, unfortunately. So I do have plenty of designs and plenty of merchandise with each design. If you see something, if you see a design you want, and I don't have a clothing piece on my store, please feel free to send me a DM requesting what you'd like to see. Or if you want to suggest any designs as well, please feel free to send me a message at any time. See, I've got several designs. Trying to see if I can pull up where I have all of my base designs at. Fortunately, it's not working for me now, but I'm not going to worry about that. Yeah, if you guys want to check out the Puget Sound Stormwatch store, I will actually link this in the comments on both YouTube and Facebook if you guys show any interest in wanting to purchase some Puget Sound Stormwatch merch. And of course, the best way to help support Puget Sound Stormwatch is through Ko-fi. ko-fi.com/Puget Sound Stormwatch. That is the #1 way to help support. The link is pinned on YouTube and Facebook in the comments. If you guys would like to send a small donation to help live streams like this continue in the future, that would be greatly appreciated, but it's by no means a requirement. So I do appreciate your guys' generosity and your vigilance. And your hospitality, too. And for you guys on YouTube watching right now, if you guys want to see my blogs and you don't have Facebook, hop over to Patreon. The link is in the description. Cross-post all of my blogs here from Facebook to Patreon so no one misses out on updates. If you guys are interested, again, link in the description. Facebook, you guys know the drill. It's all available to you. Yeah, again, just another stellar look on the GFS model. Last 2 runs, locked in. Absolutely locked in. All right, folks, time is 8:55. We have been streaming for almost 3 hours now, so I'm gonna save my voice for later events. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, if you guys have any comments, questions, or concerns, please do not hesitate to send me a direct message. I believe on YouTube you can send direct messages now too. You can also sign up on Patreon, send me a message there, or just message me on Facebook, send me a private DM if you have any inquiries or any questions you'd like me to answer to the best of my ability. So with all that being said, appreciate everyone again for tuning in. Oh, Julie said, first time I'm seeing the My Wife Watches Weather streamers. Yeah. Can't remember if that was you or the other Julie that requested this design. But if you requested it, I do have it live. I've had it live since, I think, Black Friday. So if you want to head over to the shop and get any memorabilia, now's the perfect time. All right, so we're going to close off on a water vapor loop at the mid-levels. This is mid-level water vapor. So the blue contours are more moist air. Yellow contours are drier air. So the moist air is blue, the clouds are white, and the dry air, the yellow. Giving you a pretty good idea of what the winds are doing in the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere. What's going on with the jet stream, what's going on with troughs and ridges, cyclones. You can see this weakening cyclone moving towards Vancouver Island right now. That's not going to amount to much, if anything. So that's not my worry right now. All right, folks, thank you so much for tuning in with me. This was Anthony with Puget Sound Stormwatch. We're going to wrap things up. Yeah, Julie, thank you so much for tuning in. May have another live stream Wednesday, depending on how the models turn out tomorrow and Wednesday morning. So just be on standby for that. Make sure you guys have your notifications enabled. And on Facebook, I don't know if you can enable notifications on Facebook, but just be on the lookout. I may post a live streaming event ahead of time to see who wants to RSVP or share the event to their friends and family. It all depends on how the models evolve the next 24 to 36 hours. So, thank you guys again for joining me. I'll see you guys for the next live stream, whenever that may be. Again, please subscribe on YouTube, like and share the video if you liked it. Facebook, go ahead, like, comment, share the stream. Consider becoming a Facebook subscriber, a patron, a member on YouTube. You guys know the drill. We may have some very active weather coming up, so you guys know where to find the #1 stop for up-to-date weather information. Right here, Puget Sound Stormwatch. Have a great night, folks. And stay weather aware. That's where we're going to end it.